Today I will be sharing with you the top 5 bass baits to use in the spring of 2025. At number 5 I have the rattle trap baits. Now obviously in early spring, like in April and early May, the bass aren't going to be 100% active yet. So try and find a not so weedy area because these things sink really fast. But try and find more of a rocky shoreline that's got largemouth bass in the lake, and you can start using a rattle trap bait. And I can almost guarantee you there's going to be a largemouth in there that's going to want to chomp this thing. There are several different colors. I mean, this one's a largemouth color, so I mean, if you want to go test if, they're cannibals, you can go test if they're cannibals. What this does is that it, gives off a bunch of vibrations in the water, which suggests that there's a bait fish in distress. So all of those vibrations will end up getting the largemouth riled up. So that'll make them go and explore to see what it is and what all the commotion is. And they'll see it's this little bait fish. Well, they're probably going to chomp it. The rod I usually use these with, and the rod I would recommend you use, but you don't have to use the same brand, but what I have is a Bass Pro Extreme 7-foot rod. And this rod is medium heavy with fast action. Now what that means is that it's a more sturdy rod, so it's not so flimsy towards the tip, but it has fast action, which means it has nice fluent casting. The line I use with it is trilene braid at about 30-pound test, and it casts fluently with this thing. And what it basically does, since rattle traps are so vibrant, I can feel the vibrations more in the line rather than the rod vibrating itself. It's easier for me to feel if I have a bite or not because I can feel the vibrations better in the rod. At number 4, I have square bills. Now square bills are also another great lure of choice to get down there by them rocks in not so weedy areas, and they really rile up the bass with their vibrations that they have and the little balls that they have in here that create that vibration, and that's what gets the bass worked up. The bass aren't so worked up yet. The water's still cold, so they're still going to be slow. This is one good way to get them worked up, and if you use them right, you're going to get a very nice bass on this. Now the rod of choice that I have is a fluger, but you don't have to use just a fluger. What matters is the settings. The settings on the rod is medium, so it's not light and it's not heavy, so it's almost just perfect. And fun fact, medium powered rods, they're almost perfect for trolling if you ever troll with a crankbait. Now it's not just the rod, no. What I have is a bait caster, Corrado DC. Now these take several different kinds of line. They can take fluorocarbon, braid, and just straight up mono. What I have is trilene 17-pound mono on this right now. One thing is that I really wouldn't recommend braid while throwing out a crankbait like that, just only because if it's a windy day, braid can catch wind quite easily. I mean, so can mono too, but with a bait caster and stuff, they can work wind just a little bit better. You see, it's tough trying to cast crankbaits just because you kind of have to find a fluent line and a decent rod and a reel that all kind of combines together good. And that's what will give it a nice fluent cast. Other than that, crankbaits can catch wind easily, and they're not so easy to cast. Now this square bill here, it looks like a group of minnows. And I think I got lucky with it because I can't find them anywhere online anymore, so I don't think they really sell them anymore. I caught a lot of largemouth on these. If there's any company out there that's willing to make something like this, I mean, make something like this, because I mean, this is cool, first of all, but second of all, it's a big group of minnows, so when it's in the water, it's all translucent, so it just looks like a group of minnows swimming together, and it's really cool. Now on to the thing that everybody talks about when it comes to spring, and those are sitting at number 3. They are swim baits. And everybody asks, well, what kind of swim baits? I mean, you could use a swim bait like this. This is the Savage Gear Northern swim bait. I mean, look at this. It's a literal northern swim bait. But I don't think a bass over 6 pounds would eat this thing unless they were really hungry. But I would probably have to go down to Texas to catch like a 14-pounder on this thing because, I mean, this thing's big. Aw. Really? It's in the carpet! There are treble hooks in the carpet. Oh, that's gonna be a mess to get out. Wow, alright. Yeah, I might as well just tear out the carpet at this point. Jeez. Now there are a majority of swim baits that a lot of people use. For example, you got the big glide baits. Now glide baits are nice because they mimic a kind of an injured fish. It doesn't really look like the fish is good, and they're real slow working, and when you work them nice and slow like that, bass have time to react because the water's still cold. So they can make a choice, do I eat it or do I not eat it? And most of the time, they're probably going to eat it if they're big enough. Now, one of my personal favorites is going to be a multi-joint swim bait, but not just a multi-joint slow-working swim bait. I like the little fast-action swim baits, especially the ones that look like a bluegill, because, you know, they're cool. But I like them just because they mimic a bluegill, and there's bluegill basically in every lake. So if you have one of them bluegill that are going rogue and swimming around everywhere, aka your swim bait, you can pull these in front of a bass's mouth and they're more than likely going to hork them down, because this size of swim bait is probably about, I don't know, not even the size of my palm. And basically this is a baby bluegill, so basically any bass that's going to be hungry is basically going to hork these down, whether it's a pounder or a 5-pounder. I mean, you're going to get one on one of these. Now, like I said, the multi-joint ones are cool, and I like the fast action ones, but also I do like the slow working ones as well. This is a trout swim bait, and it's multi-joint, and it's a slow working one. And I kind of like this just because you don't just have to use this for bass. Trout are a really good food source for northern too, and there are plenty of lakes around here with northern in it, so I feel like in the springtime after the ice melts off, I feel like I should probably go try a lake that's got northern in it and probably throw this thing in because it's small enough, it's a baby, and I feel like a northern would chomp this thing as well. Y'all can judge if you want, but my most personal favorite swim bait to use is going to be an S-Waver. I don't know what it is about them. I've had quite a bit of luck on them. It's just, they're a slow working bait. Basically, it looks like a fish that's on its last breath, so to speak. But I just like the way they move, and they've caught me a couple bass in the past. And I like watching them, and I like working on them, and I like using them. And I think they're just one of the better swim baits that are out there. Now, I don't know what it is about swim baits, but they seem to work really well on a St. Croix rod. And this rod is medium power and it's fast action, 7-footer, may I mind you, with a quantum smooth casting reel, and it's a spinning reel. And what the line I use is a Berkeley braided X9 line, about 20 pounds. The X9 and the St. Croix, they work really well. And with the bigger baits, I can fling them out really far, and I can work a lot of water with it. And I like it because the line not only is strong to hold the swim bait, but if I do get a decent fish, I can kind of trust the line that it really won't break, because it doesn't break so easy. And it wasn't just the St. Croix that was medium power. The Pfluger's also a medium power as well. And a bait caster is pretty fun to throw a swim bait out with, because you can get some distance out of the new Corrado DC. It can cast all the line off your spool if you get the right settings on. Well, you don't believe me? Watch this. End of the spool. One of my very favorite bass baits to use in early spring is going to be a chatterbait. Chatterbaits have by far caught me the most bass in early spring ever in the entire history of the world. I love them. They work really well, and they give off so much vibration it's not even funny. Like, I might as well shake myself as I'm reeling in the bait. I use the Extreme because it's medium heavy, so the rod itself isn't so loose. I can feel the vibrations through the line. So if I know something's wrong and this thing's caught on something or it's grabbed weeds, I ain't gonna feel the vibration. I will definitely know the difference, because I mean, that tip of the rod, I mean, it just shakes every time this thing shakes. You'll know something's wrong, because if you don't feel vibration through the line, there's something ain't right here. Now, I don't know if it's the nice shiny bill here that's on the front that gives off the gloriness of the bait, but I will tell you one thing. The thing that gives it more action is the paddle tail that you can add onto it. The Swing Impact Fat Kitech bait. This is 4.3 inches, and what you do is that there's a slit right here, and what you do, you put it through the head, you run it back straight as you can, and come out towards the edge, You push it all the way up, and there's your chatterbait. I mean, you got the sparkles in the bait, so I mean, that gives off good flaring attraction for bass. But just the amount of vibration that these things give off, I mean, that has to get almost every fish riled up. Like, it's not even funny. Like, these things are really vibrant. I'm sure a fish at the other side of the lake could feel these vibrations. 'Cause, I mean, they are intense. And I love it a lot because I've gotten a lot of bass on these. Number 1. The Wacky Rig. I love Wacky Rigs so much. It's not even funny. I've caught well over 500 bass with these things. It's probably one of the perfect setups ever. I think it's because the way this is set up, and when you twitch it, it looks like a crawdad. And that's what I'm assuming, that's what the bass think it is. It's probably a more mega-sized deformed crawdad. Because the way it swims, well, first of all, the way this works, the lead here, it's a weedless weed. But what you do is you end up hooking this thing through the middle. You know, keep it about even weight. But you hook this through the middle. Your line goes here. And this weight, because these things, they don't sink very fast at all. Okay? They don't sink very fast at all. So this little jig head helps it sink faster. But what it does is when it sinks, you twitch it. And it basically, what it does is that it just flaps. It flaps every time you drink it. It makes the flapping in the water. And I think the bass just really like it. But at the same time, bass like a regular weedless worm too. Wacky Rig is really, really good for more early May to about late June. And I mean, these things get hammered. Wacky Rigs get hammered. And I love them a lot. I use them a lot. And probably most of the videos that you'll see throughout the spring and the summer when I'm bass fishing, I'm going to be using a Wacky Rig quite a bit and quite often. Because, I mean, they're unstoppable. This thing is inevitable. This thing will last forever in the fishing world. I mean, nothing can come close when it comes to bass fishing when you're using a Wacky Rig. It's not even a close comparison. It's a no different comparison. Wacky Rig is the GOAT. There's another way you can use these Senko worms, and it's a hook. It's an offset worm hook by Gamakatsu, and I would recommend the 3/0 hook. The 3/0 hook works best. I will show you. Okay, 3/0. It's got the little extra groove up here. Now what you do is, see this little slit here? Take the edge of the hook, go down about 1 centimeter, and come out not very far from the top. Okay, we seeing this? Now go all the way to the top, slide this in. Now turn your hook. Take this, give it a little bend, put it through, and now your hook should be pretty much straight up aligned with your worm. Now what you do to make it weedless, you take it, you bend this up just a little bit, and it hides the hook. And the hook is hidden. It's hidden right there. So when a bass grabs it, it no longer becomes weedless, because look, it pops right out. But this weedless rig, it keeps the weeds off, and it works so well for me. And then when a bass hits it, the bass are on there. I mean, they're not getting away from it, and it works really well too. And I will be using them a lot when I'm bass fishing in the spring and summer too. Again, the rod I'm going to be using is going to be the Extreme. Now, I don't know what it is about it. It's just you don't need that heavy of a bait, but I can get some real good distance with this, and I think it's because of the line as well. Again, it's a braided trilene line that's about 30 pounds, which you would think that'd be hard to cast, right? Not really. This thing gets pretty good distance out of almost everything I cast on here. So it's a really good combo, and I would highly recommend it to use if you're just casting anything in particular, really. Well, guys, those are going to be the top 5 bass lures that I think will work very well in the spring of 2025, upcoming here in a couple months. But I cannot wait to get out on the water. I wish spring was already here, and I hope you guys feel that way too, because I'm tired of being stuck inside and I can't bass fish. It's sad. Leave a like and comment if you're ready for spring to be here, because I sure as heck am. Like, comment, subscribe. I will catch you next time. Okay, hold on. I'm going to get the... Ow! we